sugar-free candies. Sugar-free candies are after you lose 10% of your weight, okay, you can have sugar-free candies, not before. If you do lose 10% of your weight, you count them as starch savers. I don't believe in sugar-free candies because they don't fill you. It just has something in your mouth. You don't always have to have something in your mouth. You know what I mean? You don't always have to have something in your mouth. So I don't think that sugar-free candies are anything that you should rely on. Okay. Any other food questions? Food questions, anybody? Commitments, anybody? Successes from last week? Nobody has successes?
I committed to write down, and 90% I did write down.
Where is it?
Oh, I think
What's wrong? Bring it. You don't have to bring it, but that's great that you wrote it down. Okay, I think that's a round of applause that she wrote down the food. You know, it's not an easy thing. Everybody says, oh, I'm going to write down the food. It's not an easy thing. You have to remember everything and really
then I started, and then like I have to
keep the paper with you. It's not such an easy thing to do.
One thing is like it's much worse to write down afterwards.
Really,
because what I did before is that I would plan it like 3 days and then I would know what I was doing.
Right.
Like you said, plan in advance. Every time that I ate and then I wrote down, I saw that it wasn't exactly what I really
What I do is I plan in advance, and if I eat something different, I cross it out and I put what I did eat. You know what I mean? So ideally, both. But I think both. I think planning is so important. It focuses you. You have it in your mind what you know. And also the preparation. Preparation is very important too. If I know that I have something at home, I'm okay out. You know what I mean? I have something at home. It's good. Especially soup. I think the soup is so vital. So I took an article out of the Times called Attacking the Obesity Epidemic by first finding out its cause. They talked about the obesity epidemic. There's a huge obesity epidemic in this country. 65% of Americans are overweight. And you know what? It's not a surprise. Nothing is a surprise here. But they talk about, many environmental forces, from economic interests of the food and beverage industries to the way our cities and towns are built. The way they are built makes us want, subvert the body's natural ability to match calories in with calories out. Years ago, in the 50s, when this woman was growing up, she said there were no vending machines dispensing candy and soda, and no fast food emporiums with malls, the malls with their food courts all over the place. And I also know that the minute something is made, the next day they make it kosher. Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay? She said, as kids we didn't milk cookies after school, but we went out to run around and play. Our kids don't run around and play. Is that true? Because we can't let them outside. And they come home so late anyway. Yes, come on. Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay? She says, most meals were prepared and eaten at home. Never in the history of the world has there been so much prepared food and eating out. And you might tell me you don't eat out. You eat at weddings, you eat at kiddushes, you eat in other people's homes. You do eat out. Also, she says, I got you in 1 second. She says, the 1970s saw a striking rise in the quantity of refined carbohydrates and fats in the U.S. food supply. Okay?
It's about eating out today. I saw that Heinz Ketchup spent 3 years making research how to make this small ketchup to eat while you drive.
Oh my God! Well,
to make it easier,
now they just developed a new one.
Yeah.
They developed a new one that if you open it up on the corner, you can spread it over your French fries. But then there's another section that you could use it as a dip or something like that.
So I think that's what they spent I think 3 years.
Do you know how much money, research, and it's all in the name of how are you going to eat more? Period.
No, because they want people to be able to eat while they drive.
Right, so that you can eat more. Yes, yes. Let me tell you something. I know somebody who was eating while she was driving, and as she bent down to pick up a French fry, she killed someone.
Yeah.
So talk about eating when driving. Talk about eating when driving. It's as dangerous as sleeping when driving, when your eyes closed. You are not allowed to be distracted. And I'm going to tell you, forget about driving for a second, you are not allowed to be distracted while you're eating. That's why I beg you, don't eat on the phone, don't eat in the car, don't eat while you read, don't eat while you're making lists, while you're helping kids with homework, while you're doing the laundry. When you are eating, just eat. So that you know what you ate. And so many people think, oh, you know, I relax with my newspaper. You don't know what you ate, you don't know what you read, and all you have is a dirty Jewish press. Okay? When you are eating, just eat. So we are going to talk about Yontif, and we will let you know if there's a class next week. All right? Erev Yontif. But before we do that, I want to go right to the parsha, which I didn't say that to the end. But Zealot Biscuit says such wonderful things to us in this parsha. He says, keep away from negative influences. Keep away from negative influences. The Brisker Rav commented that a person might see idols and view them as abominations and feel strongly repulsed and sickened. Nevertheless, the Torah warns us against being negatively influenced by them. Everything you see makes an impression, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay? Who has, as a child, or has told a child, do me a favor, stay away from this, stay away from that, yes or no? Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? Because everything you see makes an impression. Even though at first you feel negatively about it, eventually you might be influenced. Negative influences are powerful and must be kept at a distance. Negative influences. There are foods that when they are in your house, you can't sleep. You have foods like that? What's that food for you? What kind? What's wrong? Chocolate, thank you.
Muffins.
Well, muffins, thank you. What's that food for you? Nosh, thank you. Thank you. They shouldn't be there. And don't tell me about your family and the kids and the grandchildren and the siblings. They could eat something else. It doesn't have to be your favorite thing. Keep away from negative influences. You know, there are people, years ago, I heard Miriam Adahan. You know who she is? Miriam Adahan?
Sure.
The lecture was called Living with Difficult People, Including Yourself. And she asked the Olam, who has difficult people in their lives? And everybody raised their hand. She says, HaShanah is great, he spreads them around. But she was talking about people who don't bring out your best. And there are people in my life, certainly, that don't bring out my best. Well, certainly, I don't go looking to hang out where that person is. I don't invite that person into my home. And when I see them in a simcha, I say a quick hello and move away. There are foods that don't bring out my best. I do not invite those foods into my home. I don't look to hang out where those foods are, and when I meet them at a simcha, I say a quick hello, if that, and I move away. Keep away from something that's going to get you in trouble. Do you understand that? Right? He says, don't justify wrong behavior by claiming, well, that's just the way I am. And I hear that all the time. Well, it's just the way I am. And that's how we justify wrong behavior. Well, I eat that way because that's just the way I am. I have to eat at night, it's just the way I am. I have to eat all Shabbos afternoon, it's just the way I am. Well, maybe it's just the way you are needs to change. Maybe just the way you are is not doing you any good. Maybe it needs to change. And I would like you to complete this sentence. Okay? Complete this sentence. I would have done better this week if only I had blank. Who wants, yes?
Drank enough water.
Drank enough water, thank you. Okay. I would have done better this week if only I had...
Not had that muffin after supper.
Okay. I would have done better this week if only I had... If you had cheated? Yeah. Okay, I would have done better this week if I had...
Written it down.
Thank you.
Cleanse before.
Thank you. I would have done better this week if only I had... What? I would have done better if only I had...
More vegetables.
Thank you. Yeah?
No.
You were perfect?
No.
Oh. I would have done, so, and everybody has to answer that question for themselves. And then I'm going to ask you, what stopped you? What stopped you? You know, there was not, no, you know. You know why. You know you should have planned. You know you shouldn't have had the muffin. You know you should have drank more water. What stops us? Yeah.
One more time.
One more time what?
Just this time, I'll get them off and
Just this time, because we lie to ourselves and we lie to each other. That is the biggest lie, the biggest diet lie. I'm only going to have one. Okay. I'm only going to have one. That's the biggest diet lie in the whole world. So those people who answered my question, well, for goodness sake, you know what you have to do this week, don't you? Okay, you know what you have to do this week. Zelig Pliskin says, okay, he says, there is an order to things. This is not a hefkabel, he says. This is not a hefkabel. There's the right way of doing stuff. This is not a hefkabel. And he tells a story. I love this old story that he says. He says when Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky once visited a kindergarten of a Torah school, he noticed that the mezuzah was fixed on a spot within the reach of the children, on the bottom. He says it's a lovely idea to let the children reach the mezuzah, but put the mezuzah where it belongs, on the upper third of the doorpost, and let them use a stool to reach it. Otherwise, they're just going to grow up thinking that a mezuzah can be put anywhere they wish. We don't walk around with untruths. It's not a hefkabel, okay? There is a certain order. There's a certain order to your meals. There's a certain order to your day. There's a certain order to preparation. There is a certain order to this program. This is not hefker. What is the order to your life? What is the order to your program? And when everything is chaotic, your program is chaotic, and there is no weight loss. Who understands me? Who's ever had the experience? Okay? Who's ever had the experience? This is not a hefkabel. And now we come to Yom Tov. And those people who have been with me know basically what I'm going to tell you. But the first thing I'm going to tell you is Yom Tov is a season. It's not 2 days. It's a season. But we take it, we call it the salami method. Piece by piece by piece. First, we're going to worry about from now until Rosh Hashanah. And what you do on Rosh Hashanah is dependent on what you do from now until Rosh Hashanah. If you have your strictest week, you have something to push for. If you create a hefker, I'll worry about it. Well, guess what? You're not waking up Rosh Hashanah morning and saying, I think I'll start today. No, you won't.
so much apple pie and honey.
You won't.
Rolling around.
Okay? So now what are you doing from now until then? And then, of course, okay, what was here? What was here? I think that if you answer this to yourself and then go out and do whatever you answered here, you probably will have a better week, a better Rosh Hashanah, a better Yom Tov season. And we're going to talk about Yom Tov. But you know what? I actually have people starting now and next week. Starting! I know better, but I used to ask, why would you start now? And the answer is always the same. I want to save myself 10 pounds. So I'm going to tell you, I say it every year. If you come back after Sukkot weighing the same thing that you do today, it's like losing 15 pounds. Who understands me? Who understands me? I don't want to hear any crying when you come back and you're the same weight. Because if you're here, no matter how bad it gets, it doesn't get as bad as it could get if you weren't coming. Is that true? Is that true?
Sure.
So let's look at Yom Tov, okay? Let's look at the rules. Let's look at, okay, you've heard these before. You've heard these Yom Tov rules before. But, first of all, we added a few. And secondly, repetition.
You don't have copies of the Yom Tov rules.
Yes, I do. I do have copies of the Yom Tov rules. Sit down when you eat. Okay, I do have copies of the Yom Tov. Sit down when you eat. I always say that we would eliminate 90% of the overeating if we would sit down. Who believes me? Who believes me? Sit down. This is especially true for the servers and preparers. You could eat so much in the kitchen just preparing the meals. Okay, just preparing the meals. Just taking them out of the